hot or cold, what advanced metrics say about the Vols' chances to reach the Final Four? So all of that negativity, as some of you call it in the previous segment, saying that Tennessee would have to break from history to make the Final Four after a deep run in the SEC tournament, we wiped the dry erase board clean. Caleb, what do advanced metrics say about the Vols' chances to reach the first round? Hot or cold, and we're going to break it down by round. Wofford up Thursday.
Well, hold on. Let me go through the whole list real quick, and then we'll go round by round with advanced metrics. First of all, I love to troll you. You said the Vols' chances to reach the first round. They've already reached the first round. Yeah. Okay. So, all right. Let me break down what I'm talking about here. And I got a column on it. I'm going to drop the link to my column now in the column too, or in the chat board too.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Thanks, Coop. By the way, I got to reach out to Coop. I heard it was really sketchy, and I don't know if this is true. Maybe somebody can help me in the message board. And that is that Cooper's opening a smokehouse. We got to talk about that. But anyway, we'll get to that. Go ahead.
All right. So,
not like the THC guys. I mean, like meat.
Here's some data, and I tracked data on this yesterday, Dave, and I did a lot of thorough research. Rick Barnes' team, this year's Tennessee basketball team, guess what they're ranked in possessions per game?
I don't know.
Number 308. They're a very slow-paced team. Now, that's not every Rick Barnes team. They were actually in the top 150 last year, but this team plays very slow. It's even worse when adjusted for opponents, which Kim Palm ratings does. The Kim Palm rating has their adjusted tempo. They're 346 in adjusted tempo. Now, that theoretically would work against Tennessee because slow tempo teams increase their chances for upsets in the NCAA tournament. However, I want to bring something up. Guess how many tournaments Tennessee has lost this year, Dave? And guess how many games Tennessee's lost to teams outside of the top 200 in either ranking this year?
I don't know, but it sounds like you're about to get attacked. But go ahead.
0. They've won every game against teams outside of the top 200 in tournament rankings with an average margin of victory of 18.3 points. I kid you not. 18.3 points. I got more data for you. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
Ready for this? The first weekend, Wofford first, and then Utah State and UCLA. Guess which one of those teams ranks in the top 200 in tempo?
I don't know. Sounds like one's dogging it.
0.
All right.
All three of them are outside of the top 200 in tempo this year.
That stat is rough.
Yeah. Wait. It gets better. It gets way better. Okay. You ready for this?
Throw me a bone, Caleb. I'm nowhere close to done. Go ahead.
I apologize.
There, then what are we going to do about it? Order Caleb's dog a muzzle. Go ahead.
All right. Next, after that. Okay, wait. I'm not done.
Caleb brought his dog to the studio. It's bring your dog to the studio.
I did. I left my dog out today.
A lot of people don't know that. March the 19th is the day before the NCAA tournament, so it's National Vasectomy Day, but it's also bring your dog to the studio day.
Okay, so I'm not missing all the dog jokes. I'm just trying to get to the stats while my dog's going crazy upstairs, guys. Okay, all right. Now here's the other stat. Okay, so they're outside of the top 200. If Tennessee gets to the Elite Eight, Dave, they're likely to play Houston or Purdue. You ready for this stat? Houston, they're outside of the top 300 in advanced metrics.
Okay, by the way, Coop just texted me. It's not, he's not doing a smokehouse. That's totally made up. Go ahead.
All right.
What a weird segment this has turned into. Go ahead.
So, if Tennessee reaches the Elite Eight, so I just told you the first weekend, all three teams they play outside of the top 200 in tempo. If they reach the Elite Eight, they could play Purdue or Houston, right? Those are the two toughest teams they'll play.
Yes.
Both are outside of the top 300 in tempo. Tennessee, they only lose to teams that run tempo. That's just happened all year. The only two teams they've lost to all year outside of the top 100 in tempo, the only two teams they've lost to all year outside of the top 100 in tempo are Auburn and Ole Miss. They both were on the road and both were at the buzzer by 2 points. And they won't play anybody in the first round, second round, or Elite Eight that's in the top 200 in tempo. So the only round Standing in Tennessee's way to reach the Final Four is the Sweet 16 matchup, which is going to be. But if they win that, they're either going to lose it. I'm just going to say this straight up: Tennessee's going to either lose in the Sweet 16 or reach the Final Four, one or the other.
Okay, explain to me again why the Elite Eight is not a potential pitfall with Houston in 30 seconds. Hot or Cold, brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard Heating and Air Conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
All right, explain to me why the Vols should beat Houston according to the metrics, assuming they get there.
Because again, Tennessee has not lost to anybody outside. Tennessee's only 2 losses to anybody outside of the top 100 in tempo this year are Auburn and Ole Miss. Both were by 2 on the road at the buzzer. Houston in tempo, in terms of running tempo, is outside of the top 300. They're one of the slowest paced teams in basketball. That plays right into Tennessee's hands. Tennessee doesn't lose to slow paced teams. Okay. So
well,
that's the point.
The metrics, I like the metrics because they back up common sense. I see sometimes some of these metrics and some of these analytics don't back up common sense. This, to me, I looked at the region and I've watched a lot of basketball and I looked at it and I thought those are a bunch of defensive-minded teams. So it backs up exactly what I thought. All right, Caleb, so how are we doing, hot or cold here? You've got me confused.
Hot or cold, we'll just go round by round and we'll say how hot I am on Tennessee winning that round.
All right, let me text Coop back real quick. He said, I don't know who started that, but it sounds pretty believable, I will say. So I'm texting back. So no, LOL, because I want to make sure that he's not opening the smokehouse and giving up on the NFL, because that guy's got an NFL future. I thought that was strange.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
All right, so we're doing hot or cold moving forward?
Yep.
Okay, you set them up because you got me a little confused with your advanced metrics. I'm not going to lie.
Okay, so let me just start with this, and then we'll go each round by round. Tennessee has lost to only 2 teams all year that are outside of the top 100 in tempo, based on KenPom data and possessions per game. Those 2 losses are to Auburn and Ole Miss. Both are on the road. Both were at the buzzer by 2, and both are still top 150 in tempo. So, first round of the NCAA tournament, they play Wofford, who, and I got the data here, is outside of the top 200, Dave, in possessions per 40 minutes per game. And they're outside of the top 300 in possessions per game and outside of the top 300 in tempo. Easy win for Tennessee, right? 15 seed, easy win. They dominate.
All right. So how are we doing the hot or cold? How are you twisting this?
Are you hot on the fact that the tempo favors Tennessee in the matchup?
That's hot.
Yeah, but I thought that just by looking at it. How do the metrics and the analytics further that point?
Well, because Wofford is outside of the top 300 in tempo, which is why Tennessee has a massive advantage. Okay.
So Tennessee in the 20-point spread. Does that mean that you would take Tennessee in 20 points? Because I would not.
Yes, I would. Matter of fact, how about we do this? We'll go each round and we'll say, would Tennessee cover in that round or not?
Well, we don't know what the spread's going to be.
No, we're just going to guess, though. Would they cover whatever the spread's going to be?
Okay, all right. Would they cover our made-up spread? All right.
They'll cover it against Wofford. All right, next round. UCLA is outside of the top 200 in possessions per game, and they're outside of the top 300 in KenPom tempo rating. Utah State is outside of the top 150 and barely inside of the top 300 in possessions per game. So again, both of them run slow tempo. Tennessee, UCLA, will they cover or not? Whatever the theoretical spread would be. I'm hot. They will.
That's hot.
I'll take it.
Utah State, would they cover or not? Whatever the theoretical spread would be.
If Tennessee played Utah State, right?
Yes.
The theoretical spread?
Yes.
I don't. I'll say I'm hot. I'm hot on that. Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning.
All right, now let's go to the Sweet 16, and this is where things get a little tricky because the tempo becomes an issue. In the Sweet 16, there are 3 teams that are in the top 100 that could give Tennessee hell. The most notable, the most likely team they'll play is Kentucky, who is 3rd in the KenPom ratings and tempo and 18th in the possessions per game.
I don't think Kentucky's going to be there. I don't think Mark Pope will get them there. But if they're there, I think is it Turner or Butler? I can't remember his name all of a sudden. That's got the shoulder injury.
I mean, he's been hurt, but he was hurt when Kentucky played Tennessee too.
Yeah. So, but I think he would give them a boost. He's supposed to play, and I would think that he would push that out. Okay. So who else? I don't think Kentucky's going to be there. Lamont Butler.
But if they do, are you hot or cold on Tennessee?
I'm going to have to say that I'm cold because Kentucky's beaten Tennessee twice, and I don't buy into that. Oh, it's hard to beat a team 3 straight times.
Now who does the voice?
Oh, I know. But, I mean, Caleb, if you beat the hell out of me twice, do I want to fight you again? No, I do not. So I think that I've always thought that argument was silly.
Well, I'm hot because I believe in law of averages, and I don't believe Kentucky's going to shoot red hot from three times. Now, the other team, the second most likely team they'd face in the next round is a team they beat on the road earlier in the year. Illinois, top 15 in possessions per game, top 20 in KenPom tempo rating. Are they going to cut? Would they cover or not?
Say no.
I agree. No, they would not. I'm cold. They would not cover Illinois. As a matter of fact, I think Illinois could really give them trouble. Now, here's the scary one.
So what we do, my one takeaway to this point of this segment is you want Illinois to lose, right?
Yes, you want Illinois to lose, I think. Now, let's look at a couple of the lower seeded teams in the Sweet 16 because they're still a threat to Tennessee. Texas and Xavier, both 11 seeds, are playing for a play-in game. Tennessee beat by 4 on the road. They're 172 in KenPom, 143 in possessions per game. Xavier is top 100 in KenPom, 113 in possessions per game. Do they cover against either of those teams?
Yes.
Today.
Whoa, wrong one. Yes, I'm very hot on that.
That's hot.
All right, I'm going to say this. They don't cover, but they win because those 2 teams, even though the tempo will favor them, they're just not good enough to beat Tennessee, but Tennessee won't cover. All right, now here's where we get fun, and here's how we get to this. The Elite 8. Now, the Elite 8, there is only one team, Dave. Of all the teams Tennessee would face in the Elite 8, only one is in the top 100 in tempo. That is Gonzaga, a 9 seed. Don't you think even though Gonzaga runs tempo, Tennessee should beat them if they face off in the Elite 8?
Yeah, I can definitely roll with that. I think they beat Gonzaga. I think they're a better team than Gonzaga. But I'm going to bring common sense into it for a second and not just metric. When I have watched Houston this year, I've seen a tough physical team that plays like Tennessee, and we're going to get to Houston, I assume. A tough physical team that plays like Tennessee and can out Tennessee. Now, the difference is Tennessee goes what, 8 deep?
Maybe. I think mostly 7.
Yeah. Well, Houston goes maybe 7. So let's say it's 6 and 7 or 7. I think Tennessee has one more dude in depth than Houston based off my evaluation of Houston. Go ahead. The Cougars.
Yeah, I agree. So Gonzaga has it. Oh, wait, I forgot one other Sweet 16 team they could face. This is the one that's a lock for them. If they face Troy, the 14th seeded Troy Trojans, if 14th seed Troy finds their way into the Sweet 16, I don't have to use tempo to argue why Tennessee would beat them, but Troy's outside of the top 200 in tempo in both ratings. Now, okay, so Gonzaga, I'll say this. If Tennessee faced Gonzaga, they would not cover, but they would win. So I'm cold on them covering. What about you?
I'm cold on them covering as well. I feel like
All
I'm
right.
agreeing with you too much.
Georgia is the 8th seed. They are 168 in possessions per game, but outside of the top 200 in tempo. Would they cover against Georgia?
I think they would cover against Georgia.
Wow, you're hot on them covering Georgia.
That's hot.
All right, now let's have some fun on these before we get to the 2 that matter the most. So let's say theoretically, Dave, there's a couple of low seeds we're talking about right here, and let's just get to them. There is a number 13 seed, McNeese State. And what are your thoughts on McNeese State?
I think Tennessee would cover. I'm hot. Brought to you by City Heating and Air Conditioning. Integrity matters. 50 years in East Tennessee.
That's hot.
I am hot on Tennessee covering if they face McNeese State too. I'm going to keep going. That's 12 seed McNeese State. And they're outside of the top 200 in tempo in both. Another team outside of the top 200 in tempo in both.
Referring to Kentucky real quick, potentially beating Tennessee 3 times in a row. Derek says, fighting is a sport I can see competing for a third time because I made that analogy. Well, you never see the third matchup if the one fighter wins the first 2. He doesn't give him a third opportunity.
That's true.
Oh, I mean, it never happens. I used to be a big boxing guy. Go ahead.
All right, High Point. They're out of the top 200 in both as well. High Point's a 13 seed. Again, do I really have to address this?
Is High Point in Stony Brook? Like by the Hemp House?
If we're going to play that game, I want to see Longwood play Moorhead. But
no, I don't. Tennessee's premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Please use the promo code HOOKED. That's HOOKED for 10% off. Go ahead, kid.
Okay, so they would cover against High Point. Now, wait. The 16 seed they could meet in the Elite Eight. Could you imagine a 16 seed going to the Elite Eight, Dave? But SIU Edwardsville. Luckily for Tennessee, if SIU Edwardsville does make the Elite Eight, they're outside of the top 250 in both tempo. So Tennessee would cover even if the spread was 25. Now the 3 that matter the most, the 3 that could legitimately make the Elite Eight. Clemson is the 5 seed.
Can I redirect for half a second? Because I want to ask you this. Loveday says, I have Gonzaga ousting Houston, just me. Based off your metrics, tell me if I'm wrong, Gonzaga should give Houston all they can handle and possibly more.
Based off my metrics, Gonzaga is the team most likely to beat Tennessee if Tennessee goes to the Elite Eight.
Right.
They're the only team with a chance.
Based on the okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so Gonzaga is the only team with a chance if Tennessee makes the Elite Eight. 5-seeded Clemson. It's outside of the top 300 in tempo for Ken Palm and outside of the top 280 in possessions per game. Dave, I think Tennessee would beat Clemson by 15, even though they're the 5 seed.
Okay, I don't think that because I'm going to use my eyes. So you're going.
That's hot.
I'm going. That's cold because I think Clemson has a very experienced backcourt, and I think they're good, and I don't think they've let it get away from them. So it would really depend on where the spread is. If it's 2 or 3, yeah, I like Tennessee to cover. If it's anything that's in double digits, I do not.
Okay, where you are is actually where I am with Purdue, the 4 seed, where I'm breaking with my rule. Purdue is outside of the top 200 in tempo on both fronts. I think Tennessee is going to beat Purdue. I don't think they'll cover. I think playing in Indianapolis is going to help Purdue a lot. And so that's the only reason I don't think Tennessee would cover. So I'm cold on Tennessee covering against Purdue. What about you?
I'm cold.
Okay.
But now I'm going to switch it. A revenge game.
That's hot.
All right, there we go. Now we get to the fun one. The 1 seed Houston Cougars. Dave, Houston is number 360 in Ken Palm tempo. They're number 357 in possessions per game. They play slow basketball.
I know.
Tennessee will be an underdog in that game. They'll cover it. What are you hot or cold on them covering, not upsetting them outright, but at least covering against Houston?
I can actually tell you what they would be on this particular spread because I asked if you'll give me just a second to look it up. Tennessee, according to the metrics, I've got just for the record, Tennessee would be a 4.5-point favorite against Kentucky, according to my gambling guy. So do you like them to cover that? We're going to go back and then go forward.
Yes, I would because I just think law of averages say Kentucky can't keep shooting hot from 3 every time they play Tennessee.
I'm not going to say that for a team that's beat Tennessee twice. But anyway, Houston would be a 3.5-point favorite, and the over-under would be at about 126.
I'm definitely on Tennessee covering that. I'll go further. Tennessee will cover the spread that Houston has over them. So if whatever Houston is favored by, Tennessee will win by more than that. I'm hot on that. Hot. So
that's hot.
Tennessee will either make the Sweet 16 or make the Final Four. There's no in between. That's the biggest takeaway from this.
Okay. All right. So you have Tennessee either Sweet 16 or Final Four.